Sister Live. I am your host, Melanie Y. Evans. I like to come on here and talk about speech pathology from a culturally responsive lens. I have here Dr. Anthony L. Marshall. He was
Hello?
my AP US history teacher, and one thing he drilled in our head was talking about US history from an African American perspective.
Yeah.
So he will be talking a lot about that today. But the reason why I have Dr. Marshall on here is because Dr. Marshall, many people now are learning more about the Tulsa Race Riot, Black Wall Street. Um, but overall, as I know that you know, as an educator, and how long have you been an educator, by the way? How many years?
15 years.
15 years as an educator. Go
But
ahead.
but but you ought to know I was an attorney for 20 years before I retired and became a teacher. But I love history and love talking about it very much. I want you to know, Melanie, that I am a victim of a stroke, but I do not hinder me. I do not hinder me. I talk with slowly now, but that's all right. I talk about history every day.
We are so happy you are here. And thank you for mentioning that you're a stroke survivor. I heard you say
Yes,
victim earlier, but you are, Dr. Marshall, you are a survivor. People listening to this may not know Dr. Marshall, but he has the same fiery spirit as he had before the stroke. Nothing changed.
yes.
Even when I saw him directly after the stroke, the spirit did not change. So I do want to ask you before we get into the nitty gritty of our conversation,
Hmm.
how was it for you going through speech therapy? Really, just anything that you would like to tell us in the profession.
Well, I I would like to say Howard University speech therapy is dynamite. It is dynamite. They have taught me a lot, and Georgetown have helped me too with my speech therapy. But it's hard, but I will survive. I will survive.
And how long were you in speech therapy, getting up to this point where you are now?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Can you tell us a little bit about the strategies that your speech therapist used?
Oh, they let lots of strategies. Uh, every semester, they have a team that come in and teach me and help me about my victim of a stroke. Uh, Georgetown has helped me with my head. They have helped me with my head, actually, with my head. And they really talk about my brain,
Mhm.
and it helps.
You are, well, again, so happy that you are here, and we are
Hmm.
very excited to learn from you. Like what I was saying, many people do not know much about Black Wall Street, and many people do not know much about Juneteenth. Now it's popular in the media, but Dr. Marshall, I will tell you, you'll be so ashamed of us. But when I went to Washington, D.C. for undergrad, and I told people I was from Oklahoma, of course, their first response was, "There's Black people in Oklahoma." And then that's when I'm like, "Have you heard about Black Wall Street?" And they'd say, "No, what's that?" So that's when I had to educate them on the Tulsa Race Riot. But I think that you would probably be able to explain the Tulsa Race Riot better than I can, being a history buff and all.
Well, the massacre, I call it the massacre, is very significant. In it began actually before 1921, and it Wall Street came about as black people had to survive. I know the Rights massacre had to start before. There was a railroad track, and right at Archer, the railroad track,
Hmm.
and black folk were surviving. And actually they were surviving very, very well. They had bus services that ended at Greenwood and Archer. They stopped. But everything north of Greenwood, they were surviving. We had banks, they had restaurants, they had movies, all of that. The black people were surviving. And then we really got started was a man. He was black. Mm-hmm. And he was elevator operator. He was an operator. And a white lady got on it. And they had a confrontation. Anyway, when they came up, the woman said that they had raped her. And that was not true. And that was where you started the race riot. But one thing they have to know is actually it was started Memorial Day.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
It started Memorial Day and went over. But that me now after the race riot had no place to stay. As a matter of fact, they were camped in a holding because all of the other grocery stores and all of that were burned. Mm. Grocery stores, restaurants, houses were burned. And they were kept in a holding cell.
Wow. And Dr. Marshall, I hate to stop you. I'm seeing another gentleman here on the line. Is this someone who's with you?
I don't know. Who is it?
Hi.
Oh, Janice Evans. Janice Evans.
Hi.
Hi.
She is a wonderful friend of mine. She was in the band.
Oh, wow. You went to Howard?
Yes.
Oh, well, welcome to the call. Oh, okay. So you're here. Okay. So you're here to join us.
Actually, no, I'm just listening in.
Okay. So I think what happened, Dr. Marshall must have sent you the link to join in the studio. So you're in the studio right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No. Here, let me give you it's all right. Let me give you the link so that way you can join as a audience member. I'm going to put that in the chat, okay?
Okay.
Yes. I'm thankful that Dr. Marshall knows you because I'm like, did I just get hacked on the show?
Jan was not trumpet, but a clarinet player.
Okay. Oh, wow.
In the band at Howard.
Oh, you wearing the Howard? Yes. Is that the Howard tee that you're wearing?
Oh, yeah.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
I know that's right. I'm class of 2017 and Dr. Marshall, he was my history teacher.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so huge influence in why I even went to Howard in the first place, and my life has just taken off. So yes, he is an excellent man. Do you see in the chat box? Do you see the link?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. So if you can leave this room or click that link first, so that way you have it. and
Okay.
leave this room yet, because you're on live now. Unless you want to join in on this conversation too.
No, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, all right. So, Dr. Marshall, you were mentioning how the man now, what was the man's name? Can you remind us of his name?
No, I do not. There was a time when I could remember the name, but
Let's pull
one
it.
thing about my memory, it comes and goes.
Uh-huh. That's all right.
But
We have Google.
actually, it's been circulated that the man and the woman got out of and went to Chicago. That they were really friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodness. Let's see. What's his name? Because it left my mind. It left my mind to story. Here we go. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it now is because, yes, like you said, I knew it was Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
race riot is still prevalent in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is still prevalent. They have a big thing of it, and they have Juneteenth, but that's another story. But
Mhm.
they hold Memorial Day for this one.
Okay. Yes, because they're right back to back. So the man
Right.
is Dick Rowland, and the woman's name was Sarah Page.
Yes.
And you're right. I did hear that they were actually friends or even
Yes. Yes.
possibly partners.
Yes. They see what I told you. They were friends, and they moved to Chicago.
I know that's right. And then we never heard from them again.
Yes.
Yes. And so what happened after the train tracks with the race riot?
Well, they burned all the stores, the homes, everything was burned.
Mhm.
But black resilient, they were resilient. And afterwards, they had a brick homes where they would not, white folk did not provide them with bricks now. So they felt, well, that's okay.
Mhm.
But they built wood and built them back.
Yes.
And they survived. They are surviving. And then after the Supreme Court decided that they had to build the bricks. So, but one thing that I must say, although I don't live here anymore,
Mhm.
I can still say the blacks are survivors. As a
Yes.
matter of fact, one of them, Viola Fletcher,
Uh-huh.
Viola Fletcher, she is a survivor. She is 100 and not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, and she is still living.
Yes. I saw her on the Tara Reid show on MSNBC.
Okay,
Actually,
okay.
yes, she was
Yeah,
up. I
and
heard they just
she
went
is
to
still
Africa.
living. And
Mhm.
she is a beautiful woman,
She is.
in and out.
Yes. They've been fighting a lot for reparations.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, Demario Solomon Simmons.
Yes, we love him in the Tulsa community.
Yes, he is. He is really fighting for reparations, and I think they're going to get it.
I think so too. That's very hopeful. I was just watching a Hulu show. It came out in 2020 where they found the remains of
Yes,
people who,
and they are still finding the remains. Oh, remind me. I don't know if you know, but Kevin Ross, he died.
Who's Kevin?
He was really fighting reparations too. And as a matter of fact, he came to DC.
Kevin Lodge. Okay.
Yeah, and I met him before any that was around, but I know him. He was in the band at BookerT. As a matter of fact, his father, Ross Sr., he represented Tulsa, North Tulsa, in representative for. He is still living too, but the Ross Jr. will be. It will be. They will be services on about. I think it was. You can look it up.
Yes.
But
yes.
Kevin Ross is dead.
Kevin Watts. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to also get into, you mentioned BookerT. Could you tell us a little bit about how BookerT, what that even had to do with the Tulsa race riot?
Well, actually, it was one of the remnants that did not burn. He was a one-room house, and it was brick. And in 1921, they did not burn that school, but they did not talk about it though. They did not talk about it. Even in Tulsa, they did not talk about it. But everybody knew that the massacre had formed, but they did not talk about it. But now they have talked about it now. BookerT, we call it BookerT.
Yes, we are fellow Hornets.
We call it BookerT.
Yes.
Another white folk call it Washington.
Right.
No. It called BookerT.
Yes. Yes, we really want to preserve the name. That was a huge thing when they were trying to change it to Tulsa, Washington from BookerT, because it has
no. They are not going to change that name.
And that's good. So was that official that they decided to keep it as Booker T. Washington rather than changing it to Tulsa, Washington, or is it more of a social agreement?
No.
Okay.
They wanted to change it, but they decided not to.
Good. Very good. Because they were trying to push that in 2013 when I was in high school. They were trying to push Tulsa, Washington.
Right.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Booker T was a staple in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, when you look at it, they kept the name though, but actually they now don't get me started about the other thing. But I went back to Tulsa, and I started as a substitute. But then, rest her soul, Mrs. Coleman, she was sick. And I started, and then I stayed on, and I'm happy I did. Now, in BookerT, well, at first of all, I started slowly.
Yeah.
You know, about I say about, it wasn't long though that I had to speak up and began to speak about the history of BookerT. And Ryan, I was integrated. They started with me in 1973. As I started, we integrated the school.
Wow. That is so cool. One thing I think about, just, and I don't want this whole conversation to be so sad about the devastation of Tulsa, Black Wall Street. I actually really appreciate your uplifting tone about it, because like you said, we survived. There's the organization in the same Greenwood Rising. So, it's not all about the devastation about it. But one thing I just wanted to mention is you talked about how the high school was not burned down. Booker T. Washington wasn't burned down, which is surprising to me, because you would think that out of the hate of the Tulsa race riot, that they would come for the high school also.
But that was one thing that they did not, and I think that was really in 1921, actually now I think they would have burned it down, but it did not mess with it. And it's changed. BookerT has changed somewhat. But it's gonna survive.
Yes.
Anyway, so as I was saying, we integrated BookerT.
Yes.
And then I came back and teach there. And I taught history, and also there was a AP. But before there was an AP, I taught African. I mean, not African, but it is, hold on, it takes me a little bit of time.
Take your time.
African, and not African, but African, no.
African American?
No. It was the continent.
African diaspora?
Yes. But they taught it as a class.
At how? I mean, at Booker T?
Yes.
I was in that class.
No, you wasn't at that. You were not there.
Oh, they took it out. They must have taken it out.
Yes, it was AP.
Wow.
They took it out. Yes. See, that was that you did not know.
No. I wonder why they took it out. And that might have been why you were so adamant about teaching history from an African American perspective. Absolutely.
And but no, I was not teaching African American history. I was teaching history.
I love that. Period. That's it. I love that. I love that.
History. White folk and everybody needs to know, Black have built this nation. We have built it from the slavery time. We have built it, and it was imperative, and that's why Florida needs to understand they can't wipe it away. They have got to understand we are here and we are going to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, no, the critical race theory, that's a whole other topic.
Whole nother story. But I am impassioned about history being taught right.
Yes.
Well, and it is important that they understand history cannot be left out. They have got to understand Africans have built this nation.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I know President Biden spoke today at Howard, and he understands about the history and how he, yes.
Can you tell us, well, I'm sorry for interrupting, keep going, just about how whatever he mentioned regarding Black history or anything.
Well, he just mentioned it to the people that they have got to understand we are here. And he spoke about paying the debt, and Howard, of course, HU, the capstone of everything.
Yeah.
But he spoke very well.
Okay, yes, because we have a new president at Howard too.
Yes.
Well, before we get into just some recommendations that you would give us, because I like how you said that history needs to be taught right. And we did kind of touch on critical race theory and the fact that people don't want to talk about Black history. We can kind of get into the politics of that, but we're not going to on the show. Okay. Before we get into that, Juneteenth is also coming up. Can you just kind of briefly give us a quick history on Juneteenth?
Well, it started because Texas had not emancipated the slaves. Everybody else did. And then they came back and said, we got to understand that you have been emancipated. And so they started Juneteenth. Say it again for me.
Juneteenth.
Yes. As a Black emancipation. And it started in Texas. And then now they spread it all around. But we are also in Oklahoma, we also started Juneteenth. Because we know July 4th, not worried about us.
Right.
We celebrated, but our Juneteenth was...
That was our independence.
Yes.
Yes. I know plenty of people who decide to celebrate Juneteenth in lieu of
July 4th.
Right. Because, there's still a lot of arguments that we're not necessarily free. We're still not really independent in the society. And we were independent at the sign of the Constitution as Black people. So, yes. Well, Dr. Marshall, what would you recommend for people who are in K through 12? A lot of us are school-based speech pathologists, and many of us are actually really into social justice, and we want to implement more Black history into our speech therapy plans, and even special educators watching this. What advice could you give us for making it more accurate and relatable?
Well, first of all, as I say, you got to have history taught. Black history is relevant. You can always talk about Black folk. it is imperative that we decide that history, Black history, is history. Black history is history.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way around about it. You got to know it. You got to know it. That is what I would recommend, that Black history is history.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I want to expand upon that to saying Black history is history, because we always teach history throughout our lesson plans, especially if you're in the middle school or in the high schools. And I can say that Black history is history because we don't want to leave it out. And
Beautiful.
a lot of times, that was Siri talking. A lot of times we're scared to touch on Black history if it's not.
It should not be.
Mhm.
Talk about it, and talk about it in pride.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the slavery times, there were Black folk who had businesses. So be proud of ourselves, and white folk and Asian folk also. They need to be proud. No, don't say it as if you're hiding it. Be proud of it.
Mm.
Be proud of it. Even in slavery, be proud of it. You know, white folk always remember slavery as bad. Turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it around.
Wow. I think that what you said can bring a lot of clarity and healing to people about that.
And it would not. You cannot start it in high school, middle school. You can start it from the little bitty tots. They have got to learn.
Yeah.
Black folk and white folk, all of us need to know. We are here and we're going to stay here.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Marshall, for coming on the show. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to tell us?
No, I am glad, Melanie, that you have been a beacon of light to me.
Oh,
really, you have been. You know, I once said, especially after having a straight victim, sometimes I wonder if I have enough to say. But you have really taught me that I have a voice, and I'm glad that you did. So I'm glad that you have touched my heart.
Oh, Dr. Marshall, you're gonna make me cry. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming to hear my favorite history teacher ever talk about this important subject that touches our hearts. You have been watching the Pediatric Speech Sisters show, where we talk about speech pathology from a culturally responsive lens, and we will see you next week.